I'm going to talk about a couple little topics here. And I'm going to start off with this because I was thinking about a few things. And when it comes down to like genderism, right? Because this is what this whole thing is geared toward, keeping you enslaved mentally, and is geared around this particular topic. But for some reason, the topic of Santa Claus came up as a child. And we will start to talk about what the nature of evil is. And I'm going to get into that in this video. But when it comes down to Santa Claus, and we would start to think, why was Santa Claus ever a thing? Like, what was the point? Why couldn't it just be that the parents brought you the gifts? Why do we have to make something up, such as, like, you know, being in the form of Santa Claus? And I did some research, and I had to write it down just so that I'm not missing any points. But here's where the idea of Santa Claus, why it was ever even a thing. And it says to encourage empathy, kindness, and generosity. A feeling of niceness. Now, when I look at the word kindness and nice, okay, this right here is coming from the root word of being silly, foolish, and stupid. Okay, this is where the word nice comes from, or kindness, to be nice. All right, it's kind of like the word gay. When you hear the word gay, it literally comes from the meaning of being happy, right? But it means something totally different now. Now, when you look at Santa Claus and you're a child and you believe in Santa Claus, a lot of these things come down to even adults believing in a religious figure of Jesus Christ. And I'm going to get into that in a second. But the second reason why Santa Claus was a thing and why it's good for children, it says is developing emotional and psychological capacities, pretend play, fantasy, and imagination. Can help with these skills. So imagination, fantasy, pretend play, and it says is developing emotional and psychological capacities. Now, here's the important thing when it comes to this. Imagination. When you, for example, are using your imagination, but it's basically something that you are creating out of your imagination. So something that you may have had, like a toy, or let's say you have a stuffed animal, like, you know, whatever it may be, and you use your imagination. This is now your imaginary friend. You can't go anywhere without it, without your lucky pillow, without your lucky thing. Those are forms of imagination that you use around certain things or objects in your life. See, a fictional character of Santa Claus is a real deity, such as Jesus Christ is a real deity too. It's a real energy that once you use this energy, but it's not even about the energy being bad or good. It's how you're using it. So if you're externalizing this, you know, power of yourself for this energy outside of you, then you're losing power instead of gaining power. So with this figure of Santa Claus, it's a real deity. There's two faces to it. There's the ones you see where Santa Claus is the big jolly red, you know, cheeked, white beard, red and white clothed old man that tells you to put, you know, to sit on his lap and he'll bring you gifts. And then there's the evil side to it where it comes from, you know, and I'm not gonna go too deep into it because I have to get some specific details, but you would hear about the deity of Krampus, and you know there's a dark side to this figure of Santa Claus. And in fact, when you rearrange the word Santa, you get the word Satan. And I'm not even correlating the two, but it's just funny how, you know, that word, you can rearrange it and make the word Satan out of it. So there is an energy, and how you utilize it, it's going to program you, and it's going to basically rearrange your mentality. So in other words, when you're a child, and this is going to be the next point, then I'll get to it. It says, exercise critical thinking. Learning the truth about Santa is part of growing up and can be a sign that a child is developing critical thinking skills. Okay? So now, when you learn the truth of Santa, right, this is basically helping you develop critical thinking skills. Now, you go from that to basically worshiping a deity of Jesus Christ in a way that it's not designed to be worshipped. Okay, this is actually an aspect of yourself, and I'm going to get into what Jesus Christ even actually is. But here's the next one, influencing behavior. So in actuality, what's happening here is that as far as influencing behavior, if you're good, then you will get gifts. If you're bad, then you will be put on the naughty list. Okay, it's already programming you to develop a religious mindset. You get what I'm saying? It's like it's coming out of the concept of being rewarded for being good, and fear of not getting rewarded or being put on a naughty list. Okay, they tell you that when you're good, you go to heaven. When you're bad, you go to hell. This is where we start developing this nature of evil now, and I'm going to get into what evil actually is. So we're going to go back now to developing emotional and exercising critical thinking. Learning that the truth about Santa is part of growing up and can be a sign that a child is developing critical thinking skills. So you go from that, but you only believed in Santa Claus because your parents told you. And who are your parents? Your parents are technically God. They are actually God. That's what your parents are. But the God was designed by you. So here, they give you an image of Christ and tell you that this is God, and God is the white man in the sky with the white flowy beard. Okay? You basically are here as a manifested individual, a soul, a living soul, because you created the portals, all right, of your mom and dad. It's basically God as one. They became one the moment that they had sex. But here's the thing though, all right, this goes back into the creation story, okay, where before this whole illusion of time and manifestation, things were manifested the same way things just pop up in the dream is exactly how things popped up before this whole space and time thing. This is outside of space and time. There was no genders. But in order for God to experience himself here in this physical realm, okay, you would have to create polarities, the positive and negative, concept of evil and good, black and white, man and woman. So in order for you to experience yourself here in the physical, you can't just appear here in the physical. Although, if I was to tell you to really think and remember the moment you were born or the moment you were in the womb, you can't remember none of that. You just kind of came into consciousness along the way. There's people who say who they can remember and whatnot. We'll go into that in another topic. Okay? But you just kind of appeared here. And it's kind of like in a dream. You were never born. You never die in a dream. You just appeared in a dream depending on your vibrational state. I mean, the frequency is a state of vibration. Okay? So the vibrational state you're in that frequency. I mean, that's just basically where you appear in the dream. So in this physical realm, you can't just appear here. So you would have to design portals. Okay? And those portals basically would be your mom and dad. And you had to come out the womb for you to experience yourself in the physical. And growing up, you depend on them. They take care of you. You trust them. You believe everything they tell you. Okay? And they look after you. They love you unconditionally. It's like God. Same thing. God loves you unconditionally. Doesn't matter what it is. So your parents are a manifestation of what God is. But in this realm, we run on polarities. So we have to look at your parents as one. This is why it kind of sucks when they tell you and they break up. Who do you want to go with? You always never want to choose a parent. You always want to kind of like have them together at all times. Okay? So your parents looked after you. Your parents are there for you. They tell you about Santa Claus. Okay? Because this is just their indoctrinated way of being. So now they develop this character of Jesus Christ now. After you stop believing in Santa Claus. Your parents are basically God. And when you look at this image of Jesus Christ, so many people wonder whether he really existed or not. Is he a real person? Was he a real person, rather? Is this energy real? Is this, a real thing? And when you look at this Jesus Christ character, Jesus Christ is a manifestation of your physicality, of you. Now, are you real? You're here in the physical. Did you ever really exist? Were you ever really born? Do you ever really die? You know, look at Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was born of the Virgin Mary. Now, you, for example, were born out of your mom. But here's the thing, though. You are taught this concept of history. History doesn't exist. Neither does the future. The only thing that exists is the now. So you're told about your family lineage. You're told about, you know, anything before your parents. And you believe all that too. The whole thing is, your mom just basically is a thing based on your appearance here now. But before your mom, there was nothing. Just like before you, there was nothing. But the reason your parents are real is because you came out that womb. Everybody's living their individual experience from their parents, but it's all one consciousness. The only thing is, we have our own individual experiences out of that same consciousness that we all share in common. So this is basically what we have in common, consciousness. But you have your own individual consciousness, which means you're your own individual soul coming out of the spiritual nature. So Jesus Christ is the God of humanity. Jesus Christ, okay? If you look at the whole story of Jesus Christ, it comes down to exactly what's going on in your human body. You got 33 vertebrae. Matter of fact, you can look up a whole video. I'll tie it in the description of this video about how your body correlates with everything that you've looked at in the Bible as far as religious figures, Jesus Christ, the 12 disciples, how this manifests out of the 12 major systems of the body, the planetary alignments and all the planets in the sky, the 12 constellations that we have, the 12 months of the calendar, the 12 disciples, all that is your human body. The 33 vertebra, you have this energy that rises from the animalistic nature, which I said God resides in the lowest animalistic nature. In other words, God is in hell. Okay, and you raise this energy up to the heavens, but you're here in this physical realm thinking you're a real boy. The same way you kind of question, was God real or is God real? Well, are you actually even really real? Right? Suppose that I develop a religious mindset now, because now we got this feminine and masculine genderism and whatnot, and you have a transgender that wants to basically be addressed as pronouns that they've basically designed. So there's no longer a, let's say it's a man and now it's a woman, but they don't want to be identified as a man. They want to be identified as a woman or as a they or them. Okay. What do you do in a situation like that? Right. So out of courtesy and respect, do you just kind of concede and say, I'm going to address you however you want me to address you? Out of just basically respect? See, we have a social contract here, right? The social contract is basically to be in harmony and to get along with each other, right? But there's things that stem out of this order. And the thing is, this conservative and liberalism. See, I hold a lot of liberal values, but then there's a lot of things I don't subject to, that I don't subscribe to. The same way when you look at conservatives, there's a lot of things I value, but some things I don't subscribe to. But the thing is, here, you have to either be liberal or conservative, right? So you would have to be either or. And if you do subscribe to liberalism and you somehow, you know, side with certain conservative values, they say, oh, that you're just basically not, you don't belong in that circle because you don't have true value. So it's kind of like still developing a religious mindset about it. Because liberalism and conservatism is basically another religion. Okay? So now when you have, for example, a man who wants to be addressed as a woman, either way you put it, the moment that I concede, and I know that that's a man, right? But out of respect, I can address him as a her. I'm technically lying because I know that's a man, right? I'm technically lying. I deep inside know that that's really a man. And I'm calling it a woman because that's a form of being nice, kindness, and compassionate toward that individual. See, and then we categorize that individual as having mental diseases or a mental condition because they don't know their gender or because they are imbalanced. And that's really what it is. It is a mental condition. You know, it's a mental disorder. When you are a transgender or gay or whatnot, it is a mental disorder. But then again, the person who is trying to decide whether the person should be addressed as a him or her, or judging that character, that person is also suffering from the same mental disease, because that person thinks that it is a human. See, you think you're a real boy or a real girl, so you have the same mental condition as that person. See, there's objective truth and subjective truth. Here, objectively, you can never change your gender. You were born a man. I don't care how many times you want to change your sex or whatnot, you cut off your dick or whatnot, you're still a fucking man, because you have the chromosomes that say you're a man. You're a biological man. So that's something you can never change. That's a objective truth. Maybe a subjective truth. And when we talk about subjective, like, you could become a police officer, you could become a firefighter. It's a title, and you wear a uniform and you say, I am a firefighter. But when you go home and you take off your uniform, you are no longer a firefighter or a police officer, right? So there's people who will basically go out and put makeup on, a man, put on makeup, wear a wig, but then go home and take all that off, and they're really a man. They got to go home and shave their beard and whatnot. But suppose that this person, completely changed their gender, and they are 24/7 a woman. You are still not a woman. You are still a man. At the end of at the true core, you're still a man. And at the truest core of it, you're not even a person. You're not a human. You're an energy expression here. And you were designed to express yourself in the masculine way. But you got a mental disorder, and you think you're a woman when you're really a man. Now, out of that mental disorder, there's still a lot of power in that, though. Because, see, here's the thing, though. There's a lot of obstacles you would have to overcome to subject yourself to say, I am not a woman. I mean, I'm not a man, I'm a woman. You would have to go through the obstacles of what people would criticize about you, what they would think about you. You basically overcame something that is an objective truth, that you are a man. And at the truest core, can you overcome the fact that you're not a human? You're not a human. Like, you're not human. So this is not even your body. You're just basically observing. Your body is an instrument of the mind. So it collapses into existence. And because it's an instrument of the mind, you will actually project your reality outside of you. Whatever you're looking at outside of you is what's in you. So you see the world for how you are. And the fact that you're getting all these people criticizing you and all that, it's all you. Right? See, at the truest core of it, when you practice religion, it should be something that should be practiced behind closed doors. It should be something occult or private. Because I've already made a video, Breaking the Fourth Wall, and I'm going to tie it into the description of this video. It has the Deadpool character that I basically featured in that video. Now, you can basically be here and I forgot where I was going with that. But breaking the fourth wall. Yeah, overcoming humanity. I don't remember where I was going with that. It'll hit me now, though. So at the truest core, you're not a person. So you come here and you... Okay, so here's where I was going with it. It should be a cult, right? So I have a lot of friends in New York. I have Muslims, you know, Jewish friends. A lot of different... I mean, New York, you find all kind of walks of life. And the thing is, we all hung out with each other, and our religion was never a thing. Even the preferences we have as far as veganism or what we eat was never really a thing. You get what I'm saying? I hung out with a couple of vegan friends, and they're like, oh, I don't eat meat or whatnot. So I was like, oh, cool, let's go to a vegan restaurant then. And we went to a vegan restaurant. It was no harm, no foul, no problem. Only to cater, because the thing is, what we're going to do? I mean, they can't eat where I can eat, but at least I can eat where they can eat. So I had a little bit more freedom, right? We didn't judge each other. We went and we hung out and we did our beautiful things together, like go out to a ball game or watch the fight, or, you know, go play handball, go play hockey, go skating, whatever it may be, even bike ride. I've got a lot of different friends from different, you know, walks of life in New York. And that's how I grew up. We didn't grow up racist. You find everything there. Hindus, everything. That's the beauty about New York. There's a lot of diversity. But it was never a thing. Now it's like liberalism. It's like you want to express it, but you want to try to be contrarian to somebody else or be adversarial to somebody else or push your religion onto somebody else. See, that's where the big problem is. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're gay, straight, transgender. I don't care. I have gay friends too. In New York, you got a lot of gay people. And I mean, shit, what the fuck? What happens now? You know, when you start pushing this thing on somebody, it's where it's becoming a religion. So I started this video with the whole concept of Santa Claus, Jesus Christ, the nature of evil. Evil is inversion, in my opinion. Okay, and this whole evil, when you start to look at everything and take it literal, it's kind of like you're taking the Bible literal. So you take this Black Lives Matter thing because you think you're black, you think you're white, supremacist, you think you're a liberal or conservative, you think you're a Democrat or a Republican, you side with, you know, people in politics. And when you look at this, for example, and you look at, you know, the whole conservative value, conservatives is basically what Donald Trump is. And you look at how they're trying to basically mock and push all of the liberalist values down the toilet by showing you a Joe Biden and a Kamala Harris, who are both, in my opinion, retarded morons. You get what I'm saying? So when you look at this, you say, well, look, this is what it means to be a liberal, a couple of dumbasses. But here's the thing, though. The devil can't do anything to you without them letting you know what's actually happening, because the game would be unfair. So the devil would always have to let you know what they're doing before they do it. But it's up to you to know what's happening and decode it, right? So what is basically Christ consciousness? Christ consciousness is that basically you're aware and you can see between the lines. Christ consciousness means you're aligned with truth, because that's what God is. Christ, God is the truth. You're here and you're observing the lies, okay? Because it's projected out of the truth. But here's the thing, though. Out of darkness comes light, okay? So I don't demonize darkness, because you would have to learn how to integrate that together to get an understanding of what it is that you're looking at. So you don't fall into the lights of luxury, which is how you measure light, lux. That's how you get the word luxury. Or you get the real light, knowing that you are the light of the world. That the reason that there's light in the world, or the sun is there, is because that's an aspect of you lighting up your reality, lighting up the world. That's basically also Christ, the sun. You are the sun. So when you look at the sun, you're looking at yourself. So without the sun, there's no life on this planet. The same way without you, there's no life on this planet. So you give life to things with your energy, because where energy flows is where your attention is going. So with your attention, you give life to things. So when you give life to a deity such as Santa Claus, and is designed outside of, keep in mind, everything that I say they is a manifestation of your ego, which is the evil aspect of yourself. But this evil is a necessary evil for you to strive in this dog-eat-dog world type of realm that we're in, ran on polarities. But the whole thing is you have to have dominion over this. See, when you look at animals, kids, feminine, which is basically the feminine energy, the negative aspect of the force, you have dominion over these things. Okay? But if you're not the man, or you're not using your masculine energy properly, you don't have dominion over shit. Okay? So in this realm, you have dominion over all these things. So when you look at, for example, the evil natures, the ego, right? The ego is basically the negative aspect of yourself. The ego is a very necessary evil, okay? But you don't demonize these things. See, notice this. They keep you like being trapped in inversion to some extent, where they'll tell you that if you're into Christianity, don't delve into astrology, don't delve into the devil, don't learn about that, don't learn about hell. And it's crazy because you just know one side, but you don't know the other, you know? And the main thing is, how could you see, your reality right now is ran by your parents, which is the government. So you went from your parents telling you that there's such a thing as Santa Claus, you develop so-called critical thinking, and you realize there's no Santa Claus, but you now go into leaving your parents. Now you rely on the government to help you. Even though you say you have a job or your own business, the government still looks after you, right? It's the construct that is here, el gobierno. And you basically are at the mercy of your government. You pay your taxes to the government. You basically, you know, you are a good character. Good comes from masculine energy, but you're good by having, see, the thing is, you could be good, but a true good person has their evil natures intact. A person who's good but doesn't have their evil natures intact is good out of fear. This is why you have a religious mindset, because if you're bad, you go to hell. And if you're good, you go to heaven, just like a child. Okay? And a child is supposed to be taught to know. You observe your child. You're supposed to guide your child. You're supposed to know. Every child doesn't know the difference between right and wrong, but you guide that child. But a child is always going to know, right, how to be good. They're going to figure it out. That's because every human is naturally good. The evils are indoctrinated by the parents. So racism and, you know, let's say tendencies of like, it's all passed on by traumas from the parents. You get what I'm saying? Now, this is where you are an adult and your parents being the government, or we could look at it even being, let's say when we do magic, we have the good and we have the bad. That's how we put them in categories. So we say black magic is bad, white magic is good. Okay? But here's the thing though. Black magic, I'm going to make another video on this actually, because I want to talk about in detail with black magic and white magic. But when you look at a person who has their evil natures intact and then they are good, then they are the light of the world, because they are basically making light out of that darkness. But that's coming down to doing a lot of shadow work. A lot of these people here, okay, they're attracted to drama. They're attracted to YouTubers who apparently are following some type of religious doctrine and say this guy appears to be good, or this guy is very spiritual. And then you go and you try to find out what the next thing this person is saying is, because you're lost. You're lost. And if you weren't lost, you wouldn't be seeking so much validation of what these people are actually telling you. You get what I'm saying? It's not bad to go and listen to people. You get what I'm saying? But when you start knowing yourself, the things you are actually listening to outside of yourself, you realize that you're not actually learning anything. You're actually realizing that you know all these things because you're aligned with truth. And you'll know, even if somebody's lying, you're still going to be able to pinpoint truth out of that person's speech through the lies, because you're looking at a realm that's, oh, this is all a lie. It's an illusion. It's Maya, as we would call it. But what you're seeing, you realize that this is you. That's you realizing the truth in the lies. But you have to center yourself. You have to go back within yourself. You are the truth. You are the light. There's no light outside of you. You are the light of the world. And whatever you're putting attention to, you realize people say, oh, I put attention to this for the greater good. What does that even mean? The greater good. Right? I'm going to go into another video about black and white magic. And I might even put that one before this one, because every time that you do these practices, either of black or white magic, it's feminine and masculine energy. But if you don't know how to manage these things, they will tear you the fuck up. They will. Certain addictions may come up. Things that you may have suppressed a long time ago may come up, but with a lot of aggression. See, and it's happened to me personally. A lot of things, old habits, old thinking patterns that don't serve me. And then one would think I'm strong enough to overcome these things. Yeah, go ahead and try that. You'd have to literally face these things. And the way you face these things is the same way. Once you face these things within yourself, you can actually be strong enough to face the world. Face the world, but take a stance without being attached to your stance or without associating with your stance. But what you do is you realize your position in the world, and you say your piece, right? Everybody has value in the world. Everybody is a piece of the puzzle that completes your game, and they're there for a specific reason and a purpose. Even the people you hate the most, the people that trigger you the most, they're a blessing in disguise. They are the ones that you should actually be observing the most to be able to pinpoint why it is that you feel like that toward them and why you even like certain people. So it's not even just being attached to the good things, but the bad things as well are something to actually look at, because out of that bad, more of the blessings actually come out. But I'm gonna make another video, and I will tie in more about this Santa Claus deity, how Santa Claus is a programming to get you to be more religious. When you get older, you start to follow a religion. You follow this Christ figure, but you're following, not having a deep-rooted understanding of the evil natures of that Christ. You know, the way you raise this Christ consciousness, and I'm gonna close it off with this video, is to go into hell, which is the lower animalistic natures of yourself, to the coccyx area where the sleeping serpent is at. Okay, and you meet that evil nature of yourself. You balance out your root chakras, because a lot of people are bringing this energy up from an imbalanced state, and that's just basically you entertaining more of this matrix. You could be in the world but not of it, and that's what it basically is all going to boil down to. Okay, bring this energy up, and it has to go through the gateway of the heart. The heart is your earth. The earth, rearrange the anagram for heart is earth. Look at the words, rearrange them around, you get heart and earth. But once it passes that gateway and it comes up to the Adam and Eve, okay, you're observing the world. Okay, this is the dome. Okay, and you go into the abyss. Okay, go into the abyss, down to the fucking lowest animalistic pits of hell. You will never go to the bottom of the ocean here. You will never get into outer space here. It's impossible. Okay, so how could you leave space if you can't get into the lowest portions of the ocean? And they say, as above, so below, as within, so without, right? But you're trying to find life outer space. You're trying to see what's at the bottom of the ocean. You will know what's at the bottom of the ocean that you see outside of you. Once you go into the pits of hell, you'll know what's in outer space, and you'll actually have critical thinking to know that it's impossible to leave this realm. You cannot leave a physical realm to go into outer space. The only way you can accomplish that is the same way you would accomplish the way somebody comes out of body. So if you know how to come out of body, you're literally going outer space. You're leaving your physical space, and you could observe your body, and you're leaving space, but you're doing it in another way that makes you a space cadet. Every time you're looking for lights outside of yourself, you're a space cadet. You know what I'm saying? When you're trying to look for life in the bottom of the ocean, you're lost in the sauce, literally the sauce of the water. The body is the earth in its totality. What percentage of the earth is water? What percentage of your body is water and actual physical? The same way when you look in a quantum level, everything you observe outside of yourself is 99.999% empty space. Your body's part of the same exact physical realm. And when you look at it, actually, you'll see that your body only consists of trillions of cells and two major fluids, blood and lymph. And when you look at everything in between, it's just viruses and bacteria. What are the viruses? Basically what makes you an individual here. And when you have that word virus is bad or good in your eyes. Virus is neutral. Virus is basically, and it all starts from a mind virus, and we are all viruses. And when we speak, we have people consume our information. It becomes a mind virus, because if that person sits with that and they actually believe you, it makes their reality a reality. So if I was a doomsday, a conspiracy theorist, and I tell you about a doomsday coming up, you believe in that. Now you start to become a doomsday prepper. You're more than likely to experience a doomsday apocalypse, where in actuality, I mean, you created that reality for yourself with your mind. Whatever you put your mind on, it makes it real. Do you observe your patterns of where your immediate thoughts usually go to? Even when you start your day, what is the first thing you do? Usually you start to sit back and observe. You can start to change these programs. And a lot of the times what feels uncomfortable is what makes you literally unstoppable, is what makes you invincible, is when you start to embrace the uncomfort of going against the grain of what you normally would do. So if you're happy with your reality, keep going at it. But if you're not happy with your reality, then you may want to start doing some type of audit. Because now, what does an auditor do? An auditor manages your finances, your accountant, right? Do you take accountability for your life? That's basically what God is, the authority of your life. But you give that to other people. And if you're not in control of your mind, other people will control it for you. That's you being under mind control. That's you being under a mental disease. Comes down to if you won't even know what your gender is. Imagine. But you see, there's the whole thing though. It's a paradox, because even though one would think that that person is lost, that's a step closer to overcoming humanity. If you know how to use that power, there's a lot of power in that, where you overcome a gender. I mean, it's a delusion, but it's also considered degeneracy because it doesn't fall in line with the religious order. See, the religious order tells you to be a conservative, traditional values, man and woman to make babies. But why? We look at that as a beautiful thing. But in actuality, if you look at the inverted side of things, every human is a resource. And you're a battery for this matrix. That's why they tell you to be fruitful and multiply. Have many, many babies. And if you have traditional values and you pass that down to your children, you're passing down more batteries to keep this system alive. Because you're going to be fruitful and multiply. But if you're a liberal and you can see the corruption in the values that appear to be good, then you're considered a virus or a parasite in the system. And you're going to come to a lot of adversity. You're going to come to a lot of adversity. And you have to be mentally strong enough to endure or overcome that. But the only way that they dismantle you is through fear. And when you can, and when you overcome fear, there's this realm is ran on polarity. Neutrality is very powerful. But if you overcome fear, you have no option but to be in love. And love is not an emotion. Love is a state of being. Love is what you're observing, everything outside of you. Love is basically harmony. So the reason why it doesn't fall apart in your reality as far as physicality is because it's put together through the glue of love. But it's manifested out of you. Love. So you birthed your reality into existence out of love. Fear paralyzes you, dismantles things, right? But when things are paralyzed, they create diseases. There's no flow. Energy needs to flow. But see, here's the thing though. The ego can take over. And the ego taking over, it'll manifest in your reality as government controlling you. It'll manifest as other people controlling you, mind controlling you. But it's through unawareness because, see, you're basically in fight or flight. It's kind of like a fighter. You would need a coach, but be your own coach. You don't look for a coach outside of you. Just like people looking for gurus. Be your own guru. Matter of fact, this is why you'll even manifest people to be impactful to you. They're sort of like a guru to you. But you don't look at them as you're depending on them. They're just manifested out of you, giving you something out of a light that you needed in that particular moment in time. Why is that important? I'm going to tell you why. Because we are all individuals born in a specific moment in time, in a specific space, in a specific... You have a certain, a specific astrological alignment. Okay, so you're going to have a point of view naturally. A perspective and energy. So I'm an Aries. I'm naturally going to have certain Aryan tendencies or energies. You get what I'm saying? But let's say you meet somebody else that's an Aquarius or Scorpio or Cancer, whatever it may be. But because you're in line and you have your energy centers aligned, then you are a balanced universe. You give off one song, one verse. You're not isolated, but you have all these brains working in harmony. Okay, so you know what happens now? You'll attract another person in harmony who may be of another astrological sign. And here's what ends up happening now. Now, this is where the beauty part comes into, is that that person from their point of view may tell you something that you need to hear from their point of view. Because you're from a different energy center, from a different energy space, but a balanced aspect of yourself manifests in physical form to tell you something you needed to hear. And when your ego is intact, you won't take anything personal, even if it's bad or good. They could be telling you the most impactful things, enlightening things. But be careful that the ego doesn't get fed. Because when you start to develop power through magic, and you start to have this all-knowing type of feeling, very easily you could get tricked and become very egotistical. So don't fall into that. But I'm going to leave it here. I don't want to make this video extremely long, but I'm going to be making more videos because I realize that the world needs zigzag. The world needs zigzag. And I've been very, very busy. And I've also haven't been motivated. I've had so much things I want to talk about, but I haven't been motivated to make videos. And that's also an energy. You get what I'm saying? But an energy that I know why it manifests in such a way. But the only way to overcome it is just to get it out of your system. We'll talk soon.